City Secretary, was there any comments? Any public comments? No? All right, everybody, thank you very much for being here with us. Moving on to item number 5, departmental and committee reports. Let's go with code compliance.
Good evening, members of City Council, Mr. Wright, Mr. Mayor. In my report for this month of February, you can see on the first warning letters for ordinance violations, actually there's 9 items on those listed there. Anyone has any questions regarding any of those 9 items, I'd be happy to take any questions. Most of them are the high grass and weeds. We had some issues with residents that was leaking some sewage. That has been corrected and remedied already. The property owner or the renter and the property owner have taken that issue up and have already cleared it. Aside from that, everything else, and also nuisance letters regarding vehicles on the easements that are not operational. Those are the major ones that I have there on that list. The second column below those are the second warning letters regarding no response from any of the property owners from previous report from last month. There's 6. Although on item number 6, the individual regarding those nuisance vehicles has made contact with me regarding the issue of the trailer and some vehicles he has on Market Street. So he's gonna be working on clarifying and getting that taken care of. And he has some other property that he has to tend to as well as on another letter I sent him on Hackberry Street. So again, he was just in my office earlier in the week, so he's gonna be taking care of that. I'm gonna be working with him as much as possible, so he understands that we wanna get some consistency in working on those issues.
Excuse me, sorry, I got a question on that. How's it working on that new project, on the abandoned vehicles on city property, city right away?
Well, there again, before the initial letter that was sent to item number 9 on my first warning letter, I had previously made contact with that property owner, and because we had city crews out there at one time, they were trying to take care of, do some maintenance on limbs and trees and things like that, and also clean up the street because it was a little bit congested. So I met with that property owner and the individual who owns those vehicles, and he told me he was gonna work to clarify or clear that area as much as possible and get them off the street and onto his property, and adjust other vehicles that are encroaching easements. Again, even though I spoke to him, and that was the week before last, or a week before today's letter, or this week's letter. So again, I still follow up with the letter, so he understands the severity of what we're trying to do here. Without being said, there have been other improvements, although not either directly related to anything I've done, but either the work is out. So there has been improvement visually in some of the areas, and of course, I'll be addressing some other issues considering other vehicles within the city as well, and hope that I can get the same kind of response.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Mr. Garcia, on that same note, did you get any stickers that you can tag the cars with the date that you made contact with the owner, and then giving them an ample time to remove those vehicles from the
Well,
easement?
because what I normally do is send a draft or letter, just similar to obviously the warning letter I have here, and I'll put that same information on a fluorescent card and giving him the explanation of the fact that it is a nuisance and kind of give him a warning. And then I will follow up. If it hasn't been anything done after that notice, I can put another sticker and stick it on there. And then
Okay.
that'll give him a,
Perfect.
hey, this is where we're at now.
I have a couple of questions for you, Mr. Garcia.
Yes, sir.
Are two properties on Leona Street, have they been addressed with that recently?
Which what, sir?
On Leona,
Which two properties is that?
on the corner across the street from, Mr. LaFesty's house? And between the
You're
cement-
talking about the big house?
Yes.
Sir, that's been an ongoing thing, but for a while already. I keep trying to reach and follow it up with the annex building for current owner information, contact information. Nothing, no one has responded to anything. Query
Is
search.
anybody paying the taxes on it?
Yes, sir. But then I hear that that particular individual or owner may have passed or has passed away. I don't know if that's even true. So, again, I check with the tax office, of course, and I check any updated records within the county and the school district. I apologize. So, and the other properties?
The other property is the one between Jesse Garza and the city attorney, the Lozano property, on Leona. The one next to Mr. Peña's house and Jesse Garza?
Oh, you mean the vacant lots?
Yes.
I can research that one, sir. I mean, yes, I can look at that a little bit.
I have
Because I have that, there's that one, and then, of course, the greenhouse across the street from Mr. Peña's house as well. Individual on Golf Street was being demolished, building off of Golf and I believe it was Boutwell, the old red store, the
Okay.
Vasquez. Put a notice on there, notify the permits clerk, you must have a permit. And shortly, within a day or so, the individual came back out and made contact with the permit clerk. And so they do follow up if I make contact, when I make contact with them.
Mr. Peña, I got a question for you, sir, on the question he had on the first property that belonged to Mr. Dove. I know since last year we've been trying to get a hold of that property owner in regards of the high grass and the improvements of that property. And they've been having a lot of problems getting a hold of the landowner. Is there another way that we can, I know that the city can probably
I'm sure
go in
there
there.
is. I'm sure there is that we can do the work on the yard and then put a lien
Yeah,
on it.
I'm
Yeah.
familiar with the home. It's in too good of a condition to go knock it down.
No, I'm not talking about
It's
not
not
going
a
down.
nuisance.
We're
right.
talking
I'm
about the
talking about
yard.
just improving
Yeah,
the outside.
you can do that. I think the guy died. He's the one that owns the old
building.
Amberson building too, I think.
I haven't been
Yeah.
able to confirm that information. That's just what I keep getting from
Well,
around.
there's enough people that have said it. That, I mean, we can run we can contact Neil Title and have them run like a title report on there, and they'll tell you who owns it.
Let's do that.
That costs a few $100s, but we can add that to our lien if we have to.
Of course, the procedure would normally be that we'd end up sending the certified letters. Of course, we send the two notices. Of course, there's not been any action or response. We follow through with, that we've done our part. We follow through with a warrant for the property to clear the property. We file the lien, and we go from there.
Mr. Garcia, I have one more question on that same note. When you went to the tax office, didn't they have a name and an address or a phone number with an individual that's been paying the taxes?
You'd be surprised, sir. Yes, but I still get no response.
Then, if you can't, if you have an address, send a letter, do a certain time as to when they can, maybe come up with, them making contact with you. If they don't make contact with you in a certain time, then by all means, we should maybe send in a street department to go ahead and cut the grass and do an assumption of how much it cost, and then maybe put a lien on it.
I've even gone as far as researching, of course, you research the Mr. Dove and his business and where he has his business, and left a message in hopes that I get a call back and see if he would follow that up with a contact.
Are you talking about Bill Dove, the surveyor?
Yes.
I don't know who owns that property, but
I've heard the same comment too, you know, the same
If-
information that you just said.
if we can, what we can do is, what I've done before is just basically run a title search on it.
That'd probably be the
Let's
best.
do that. Let's start there.
That's a few $100s to do it. You find out who owns it, and that way we know that we've done everything we're supposed to do. We can just basically get an administrative warrant from the municipal court and go in there and mow it. But if everybody said the guy died, he probably died.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Let's do that then.
I think, and again, any expense we have, we can put it on that lien. Now, we may never get it back, but
If
It'll be
it
on the
sells,
property.
If it sells, yeah.
right.
And unfortunately, if it continues, then of course the grass is going to grow again. We'll be right back at it over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll end up putting lien over lien on the properties.
Well, let's see what we turn up when we run title on it. If there's a probate that was filed, you know, it should pick that up somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there may be an executor out there. I mean, who knows?
Right.
My understanding was that Judy Dove and whatever that guy's name was, I forget.
Is it Bill?
Sean?
No,
Goose?
no, she was with some other dude, some other guy, and I don't know if they ever lived there or not, but he's that same guy that has the L. Ampersand building.
Okay.
Well, I'll find out. It may take a week or two to get that report back.
Councilman, any other questions for Mr. Garcia on his report?
No, sir.
Mr. Garcia, thank you very much for that report.
Thank you.
Hopefully you'll have some good news either next month on that. Moving on to water and wastewater. Mr. Jimmy?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Wright. The water report for the month of January, the Carrizo-Wilcox aquifer level right now is sitting at 518 feet. Our demand for the month was 31,320,000 gallons with the daily demand of 1.04 gallons. On our water line projects, I made a mistake. It's on Hidalgo to Monterrey. They're replacing the contractors there are replacing a 6-inch asbestos line with a 6-inch PVC, and that goes from Matamoras down to Reynosa Street. And the contractors doing that is part of the LaSalle County paving project that they're doing. They're replacing the old asbestos line with the PVC, so we'll have a new line there, and we're getting rid of that.
And is the city responsible of disposing the asbestos or the?
No, sir, it's going to be there. It's just it's going to be still in the ground. We
Okay.
don't have to.
All right.
That's what I have for the water. On the wastewater, on our projects for the wastewater, we have the Cotulla LaSalle County Airport. Contractors have begun digging up and laying down pipe. They've already installed 1,800 feet of pipe with some manholes, and they're moving right along. Also, the Loves contractors there have installed the force main, relocated the force main, and installed the gravity line going down to the lift station. And then they'll begin installing a 8-inch water line from the access road down to the I guess they call it Sweet Pea Road. So have that. Those are pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Other than just the wipes, they're not as bad. The issue we've had now is just with grease. So, and that's tends to be the norm during the winter season, so. But there's not very many. Hasn't been very bad, so we're still going. Is there any questions? On
I
the waterways?
have one question. When do you all estimate that the other project will start at Southwest Lane, Hickey Street, and the other streets?
I don't have a definitive date. I can call and find out. I know that it's been awarded through the county, and I'm sure there's a process. I would assume within the next 30 days, but like I said, I would need to call and verify.
Okay.
Jimmy, are we gonna have to install new lines on those streets that Mr. Satucci is talking about?
There is
On Precinct 3?
down Front Street where there's I believe it's a 2-inch, and I think we want to go with 6-inch there, and then put in I think maybe like 1 or 2 fire hydrants.
So
down
on Front Street, actually the county picked up the cost to replace the 2-inch cast iron. It was a 2.5-inch cast iron line on front from Thornton Street to Coronado. So they picked up the cost to replace that with a 6-inch line. On Southwest Lane, we actually have 8-inch lines that were done recently within the last 8 years. So they're predominantly new lines. The one street that we have an issue with, I believe, is Hickey Street. That does have a thin wall PVC 2-inch line that runs down that street. And I've talked to the contractors and I've asked them to please try to make that the last street they do for pavement, so that the city can react and do something about the line before they actually put pavement down.
What size of line are we gonna replace it with?
Probably gonna go with the standard is 4-inch, and we'll probably go with a 4-inch line.
Excellent.
On those streets that we just mentioned, and especially the street that's in the middle between Hickey Street and Southwest Lane, I don't know this offhand.
Is that Boutwell, I think?
Not really. I don't really know
I think it's
offhand. I'm calling in regards of the drainage problem that occurs there. Will the contractor also be responsible of the drainage that you know of?
Well, on Boutwell, there's currently no work to be done on Boutwell. Now, the drainage on Southwest Lane is a different story, which feeds over to Boutwell. They're gonna change out the manhole there. But also what they're going to do is they're going to try to redirect the flow, use the road to redirect the flow over towards the retainment pond they have at the Martinez Park. So they can actually have the water go that way and utilize that retainment pond, which has storm drains that run down to the Mustang Creek. So that is in the plans to do something there. On Boutwell, there's nothing.
Because I know that the drainage starts right in the middle of those two roads. I think Mr. Farias lives in that street, and
He's talking about behind Yoloro Martinez?
correct.
Yes.
That I know that all that drainage flows to Hickey Street on the corner of I think it's Mendez. There's a corner, and right in the corner there's a
it
drainage.
ends up
There's
by
a
the
drainage,
tracks.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it goes towards the road tracks. And I was just wondering, maybe do some improvement. I know it belongs to the county, but probably I don't know if that's in the package or not.
Yeah, it's not in the package.
What I know that in the past with David and Mr. Dovalina and I, we've talked about something called pipe bursting.
Yes.
Correct.
But we've never had, I don't know if we ever got a quote. Did we ever get a quote? I know it's very expensive, but we haven't got a quote
We
yet, I
have
don't
not
think.
gotten a quote for that.
So that's where we're at on that. But I think for now, we need to do all these improvements, that's, as you said, and then maybe come back and do pipe bursting.
That'll work.
Because, and the reason we came up with that idea is because homes or sheds or porches have been built on top of this drainage line.
Correct.
So in order not to disturb the surface, you go through pipe bursting.
Correct. No more questions.
On the gas, we had one leak reported for the month that was repaired on the same day. And also, we're working on, at the Housing Authority, we have a valve replacement program, which consists of replacing the old 2-style valve setup on the gas risers, they're at the Housing Authority with a one valve system to make maintenance and future repairs easier. So as of January, 22 out of the 60 have been replaced, and that's pretty much it as well for the gas report. If there's any questions.
No, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jimmy. Moving on to streets and parks.
Good evening,
Mr.
Mayor,
Thomas, thank you for coming in.
council members, Mr. Wright. I'm going to give out three reports. Mr. Martinez and Mr. Gonzalez could be here tonight. So I'll do the solid waste also and the animal control. On the public works, we demolished a mobile home trailer at 904 Davis Street, and the customer paid a demo fee for that. We also utilized the walk-behind saw to cut a square of pavement on Alta Vista Street due to a water leak that was repaired by the water department, and we refilled it with cold mix asphalt. We also utilized a walk-behind saw to cut a square of pavement on Mesquite Street due to a water leak that was repaired by the water department, and we refilled that with cold mix asphalt also. We also sprayed some Roundup on grass embedded on street sidewalks on Baylor, Mars Drive, Las Palmas, Gulf Street, and Highway 97. We also poured some cold mix asphalt material on potholes on Tilden and Baylor Street. And that's all for the public works. As for the solid waste report, we could not generate a report due to we couldn't obtain the tonnage receipts from Southern Sanitation, as we were utilizing them to transport the compactors because we had not hired a roll-off driver. We have since hired a roll-off driver, so we have discontinued the services with Southern Sanitation. As for the animal control, you should have the report in your packet. Also, the state inspector returned for a second visit to the kennels to inspect on the infractions. They were corrected, and so we were in compliance with the state to operate an animal shelter. So that's the reports on those.
On the animals, are we still with the adoptions and all that?
Yes, sir, we are.
Okay.
So on the roll-off driver, Robbie, at this time, has that position been advertised?
Yes, it was. It was advertised for the roll-off driver, and we hired somebody.
But you're still pending
We're
one more
pending
CDL driver.
a CDL garbage truck driver and also a laborer in the back of the garbage truck.
Had that been posted that you know of, Georgia, or David?
It has been posted.
CDL drivers on the website.
But no other employees are needed for that department that you know of?
Yeah, he just said another employee that I
labor.
haven't seen.
How many?
Okay. Okay. I
Robbie,
appreciate it.
did you need between street and solid waste? I believe there was 2 to 3 that you were looking for.
Yes, sir. I need
And
two.
2, and then the water department has 1 opening currently. So if anybody is interested, and anybody in the audience is interested, please come and fill out an application.
Okay. Just as long as it's posted on the current and also on the website. No other questions for me.
Mr. Thomas, thank you very much for that report.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on to Main Street.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, Mr. David Wright. In your packet or in your report, you can find that the first item, Margie and I attended last week the Texas Historical Commission Real Places Conference during the freeze. That was a lot of fun. It was a joy not to have hot water all week, but we got through it. We were able to attend many knowledgeable sessions, but the one that we were actually able to take back and relate to us is something that we've kind of already been talking about in the office, is actually starting up a certified farmers market in our downtown, specifically in the lot next to our Stockman's building. We feel like it would be a great, it would bring life to Cotulla, and we found that the most important key is to actually have make it certified so that we can be able to accept WIC benefits and SNAP benefits for the community. So with that, in the later agenda items, actually, if y'all approve our advisory board, that would actually be something that would be very helpful in starting up for our community. As far as Stockman's Bank Phase 2, Mr. Briscoe has been in there working with himself and with the help of city staff, so that's been a huge help. Spectrum has actually went today and installed our phone services, our phone lines, and as I told y'all last meeting that all the furnishing for upstairs has already arrived. We did have some cabinets and things like that were a little, or from the drive over here that they were bent and things like that. They came over and replaced everything, so everything is in good shape. As far as Cristo Rey Cemetery, I gave y'all an update last month that the application was submitted to the Texas Historical Commission by Preservation Central, Inc. for a review on December 9th, and we should be receiving a response. We haven't received anything, but they're still reviewing everything. It's still in the process, so we're still hoping for good news. As far as the Cotulla Main Street Advisory, that's in later agenda items, but with the approval of that, we would begin our advisory board meetings in March, the second Tuesday of every month. And then we are starting up a monthly newsletter to go out for our people that sign up on the website to receive the newsletters, kind of something like the Chamber of Commerce does to keep updated and things like that. So it'll include Main Street office updates, advisory board updates, historic district resources for the business owners in our district, and then we would do a spotlight of the month to be able to promote those businesses every month. And then we also have a Love on Main window decoration contest, something like we did for Christmas, like the Winter Wonderland, and we do have participants that have already signed up, so that judging will take place on Valentine's Day. And then winners will be announced and posted and advertised. Any questions?
Karina, on the newsletter that Main Street is going to put out, can we add any events that's going to happen within the city, or any improvements that's going to be done in certain areas of the community, so they can be aware of what's going on to the public
like
itself?
City things that are going on?
Yeah.
We can definitely do that.
How often is your newsletter going to be sent out? Is it one a week?
Once a month.
Once a month.
At the end of the month. Kind of a recap of the month.
Yes.
To include.
Yes.
What's the status on the bank that they're remodeling right
The
now?
Stockman's building, currently, they're starting to, the ceiling on the lower level, they're starting to install the actual tiles for the steel ceiling. And it's a decorative steel tile. It has a sequence and it's kind of complicated. So Mr. Briscoe is working on that. City staff is doing painting, touch-up work throughout the building. There's only some small touch-up work that's needed in the upstairs section also. I know the mechanical AC came out this week and they tested the AC. They have a little bit of a punch list they need to take care of. But it's moving along. I mean, the city would probably like to see it happen a little faster than it is, but there is progress.
But you don't have a precise date or month when they estimate to finish?
Well, his
Our
estimated-
change order, it's actually February 28th. So we'll be able to actually meet next week with Frank, Able City, with Leslie and Frank, and actually get an update on that. So we'll have a new update. So we're hoping that it'll actually be finished, like Mr. Wright said. It's just small, minor things that need to be done, just as small as painting, the baseboards, things like that. But we are hoping, like you did say, Frank is on the bottom floor putting up the ceiling, and that's one of the main things. But it is a little more complicated because it has special designs and the different tiles and things like that. So
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions for Main Street?
No, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Karina. Moving on to the accounting. Normally, this item, accounting has its own item, but I guess today we included it in the departmental reports.
I believe so.
So,
I have a question
Yes.
before he starts. I know that in the past agendas, this item was always there, and I mentioned it to Georgia. The city administrator I know that he's an assistant city manager, administrator. Can he be put in there instead of leaving him out?
yeah, I'm sure that we can include that, in case something was left out from the water and sewer and upcoming projects that,
Even though I'm asking
yeah,
questions to him.
because he
but-
can report on Mustang Creek, what's the latest on that, what's the latest on the
Correct.
FEMA map, floodplain map, all of
Correct.
that, he can give you all of those updates.
Yeah, because I noticed that.
Yeah,
it was
we'll
removed from
include that on the next,
list.
on the next agenda, we'll include that.
All right, appreciate it.
Good evening, Councilman, Mayor, Mr. Wright. This is my first city council meeting where I'll be delivering the financial report, so I'm pretty excited about that. And on the first page of the packet, it's the sales tax report. And the city has received $206,831 for the month of February. From October to February, we have received $960,472. That is a 38%. That is 38% higher than the previous year. On the next page, that is the hotel motel tax. For this, we have received $192,242 for January. But as of February, we have received $59,993. The next report is going to be the statement of revenue and expenses for the period ended January 3rd, and that's on page 5. And this is the general fund. The total general fund revenue is $1,050,547. The general fund expenses are $719,615. The net income for the general fund is $330,931. And on page 8, we're going to be delivering the totals for the water and sewer. The total revenue for the water and sewer fund is $615,202. The total expenses for the water and sewer fund are $449,377. The net income for the water and sewer fund is $165,825. Please turn to page 10 for the municipal gas fund totals. The total revenue for the municipal gas fund is $149,871. The total expense is $77,357. The net income for the municipal gas fund is $72,513. On the very next page are the solid waste totals.
I got a question on this one.
Yes, sir.
Has the price of gas, has it gone up compared to months behind?
Actually, the bottom fell out of the market, and so we were trending around $10, $10.50, and currently it's in the $6 range.
$6.
So we're doing good in the city.
Currently, we're doing good.
Yeah.
So now's actually the time that I believe the city should go ahead and pursue a contract so we can lock in a rate. So there was obviously some talk about it when it was up at $10, but we didn't want to do it then because we would have been locked in at probably $8. You know, and we would be losing right now.
Can you do me a favor on your next month's report? Can you have a category there to tell us the percentage of the gas for every month, if you don't mind?
You mean the price?
Yeah,
Councilman?
like I just mentioned, I asked for the price.
The market price, we could actually add it to the gas report
Okay,
because that actually
that'll work.
cycles through there.
That'll work.
Since right now it is fluctuating, I think that's a good idea.
And on that issue, Mr. Wright.
Yes, sir.
And that the purchase of the gas would have to be a bidding system, right? To go with different companies on
Well,
natural gas.
Yeah,
If it starts fluctuating, up and down.
Yeah, I don't
Starts
think
being
at
higher.
this point we have that option, being that we are directly connected to West Texas Gas.
So we're still under contract with them as far.
We have no contract. We're on a month-to-month basis with West Texas, but they're the provider in the area. Now we can approach other companies which have services in this area, and I believe Mr. Dovalina has already, but the main company here was saying that we'd have to find a separate provider to provide the gas to the city because they wouldn't sell outright to the city. So there's some hurdles to actually have that done. So, but I'm sure that we could put it out there and advertise it and see what happens.
Are you still using Simon Pena?
We are.
Okay. I don't, for all who you don't remember, Simon's I run into him in multiple cities. He's like a gas, consultant, and he knows all that stuff. So whatever you're capable of doing or not doing, he'll know off the top of his head.
And generally, that's who I would go to actually ask and make it happen, would be Simon.
Okay, on the next page, page 12, is the solid waste fund. The total revenue for the solid waste fund is $277,312. The total expenses are $395,706. And that's going to be a net loss of $118,393. And the reason for the net loss is because we recently purchased a garbage truck for $215,000. With that, being said, it's pretty good at where it's at. And and the last report is just an accounts payable check register. Any questions?
No, sir.
Thank you very much for that report, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on to item number 6, approval of minutes, December 8, 2022, January 12, 2023. Councilman, City Secretary, was there any changes in the minutes? Thank you for that. Councilman, is there any questions? Was there any questions on the minutes?
No, sir.
There's no questions on the minutes. I seek a first motion to approve item number 6. First motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Sertuche. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Right now we have, I would like to skip to item number 11. I seek a first motion to do the skip simply because we have somebody that's going to do a presentation by Zoom. First motion by Mr. Sertuche, second by Mr. Rodriguez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Item 11 reads, discussion and possible action on a presentation of an overview of the airport master plan study with recommendations for capital improvements over a 20-year forecast period. Mr. Page?
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is a Zoom meeting. Let me introduce who's presenting it. It's the firm Kaufman Associates, which has been working for many months on our new airport master plan, and we're getting down to the final report. In attendance will be Mr. Dimitrico, who's the president. He'll be there for questions. Project leader is Chandra Burks. She will be making the presentation. They were going to be here tonight, but their flight got canceled. And we're getting down to the final report.
Ms. Burks, are you there?
Our microphone here was turned off, by the way, on the Zoom meeting, and she could not hear what was being said here. They did hear through the YouTube channel.
Is she there?
Yeah, she's there. I gotta, there's like a little chat thing on there.
Thank you.
Tell her to go ahead and continue.
So that we can present this important item tonight. I do know that you have a lot of items on your agenda this evening, so I will move through this material fairly quickly. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I am unable to hear you, but I believe Mike is monitoring it on YouTube. So if you have a question, speak up and he will tell me to stop talking. So I'm going to be providing a pretty high level overview of the airport layout plan update and narrative report. Let me change slides here.
I'm going to put this up to the microphone.
Okay. Do I need to cover any of that material again, or should I just go ahead? Growth in both of these elements at Cotulla over the next 20 years. And again, this is a 20-year planning document with a base year of 2021. So we're projecting out into 2041. So there's a lot of changes that can happen over that 20-year period, and that's really what we're trying to capture here with some of these numbers. So moving right into the future recommended development concept. This graphic that I hope you're seeing on your screen there is showing the future recommendation for the airport, and this covers a point in time expected to occur at some point between now and possibly the next 10 years. The primary difference between now and the future that we expect to see is a shift in the airport's reference code, and that's in anticipation of larger, faster aircraft that we expect to see operating at Cotulla more frequently in the future. So these changes bring about a need for a wider runway, protection of larger safety areas, and that's what we're showing here on this plan, with a runway width increase from 75 feet to 100 feet, as well as a 600-foot extension to better accommodate some of the jet aircraft that we expect to see more of in the coming years, especially during hot summer months when longer runways are necessary. It is important to keep in mind, as I show you each of these graphics, that just because this is the recommended plan, and this is what's depicted on the ALP drawing set, it doesn't mean that the city or the county has to go through with any of these developments. It also doesn't mean that TxDOT or the FAA is going to automatically support or fund any of these projects. But what this does do is it allows you to ask for that funding, because any project that you want to seek federal or state grant funding on must be depicted on this drawing set. On the land side, we are showing an expansion of the existing terminal apron, which is currently undersized to serve even the current level of activity. And so that's only going to become more constrained as time goes on. So we are showing a pretty sizable expansion of that area, as well as some additional hangar capacity with a mix of both T hangars and box hangars. What you're seeing now is the ultimate recommended development concept, and based on what we've learned about Cotulla and our knowledge of growth in the area that's been provided by ET and others on the Planning Advisory Committee, it was deemed prudent to plan for an ultimate scenario in which a longer runway with better instrument approach capability could be provided. So the existing runway site is limited in terms of extension options because of I-35 and Highway 97. It's kind of landlocked in there. So what we ultimately came to was a shift to the north, construction of a new, longer runway, 7,000 feet long by 100 feet wide, that also could support improved instrument approach capability to better accommodate jet traffic in the future. And again, like the previous concept that you saw, this is not making a statement that these changes will happen. You are simply planning for the future in the event that demand presents itself and these changes would be necessary in order to support that. The land side, we are looking at additional expansion area, building on what we showed in the future land side development concept. So we're showing additional apron and taxi lane pavement as well as additional T-hangers as well. So as part of this study, we're also tasked with assisting the airport sponsor in reestablishing a height and hazard zoning ordinance. Prior to enacting this ordinance, the Height and Hazard Joint Zoning Board, or JASB, should be reestablished and should include the City of Cotulla and LaSalle County at a minimum as part of a multi-jurisdictional entity. Once the JASB is reconvened or reestablished, the Height and Hazard Zoning Ordinance can be adopted and implemented. So this ordinance essentially limits structure heights around the airport, and it is specifically tailored to Cotulla-LaSalle County Airport. And it's based on the Part 77 airspace map that is included within the airport layout plan drawing set. So the language of the ordinance is provided as an appendix in the report, but it is a local action, and it is up to you all, the city and the county, to enact and then enforce that ordinance. So based on the recommended development concept for both the future and the ultimate terms, we did develop a capital improvement program, or CIP. So every year the airport works with the sponsor, the sponsor works with TxDOT and the airport staff to update the capital improvement program, or ASIP. And this is basically that development concept broken out into specific projects that we have staged into short, intermediate, and long-term plans. And this covers, again, a 20-year time period. These projects are prioritized based on need. So some projects, such as those related to safety or maintenance, might get a higher priority. And so they're going to be needed now or in the near future. So, and it's important to remember, too, that the costs that you see reflected on here are a point-in-time analysis. And again, this ASIP is reevaluated every year. So projects most likely will be shifting around based on what's going on at the airport and what's needed more urgently. So as an example, if a new developer comes in and wants to build a hangar, a project to construct new taxi lane pavement might be bumped up in the plan in order to accommodate that hangar. So here in the short term, we've outlined 6 projects based on the future recommended development plan. This includes safety-related and maintenance projects, as well as expansion of the terminal apron. In all, these are estimated to cost about $11.2 million, and most of that is eligible for federal or state funding. The intermediate term staging program is also based on the future development concept, but this includes projects that may not be needed within the next 5 years or so. And that includes the 600-foot runway extension, as well as property acquisition to protect those safety areas associated with that longer runway. So this period totals about $18.4 million, and again, about $15.8 million of that would be eligible for federal and state funding. And then the ultimate term projects include essentially everything that's related to relocating the runway. So this is obviously a sizable portion of this long-term CIP. It includes the new runway. It includes closure of existing taxiway Alpha. And in all, the ultimate portion of this CIP comes to about $43.6 million. All 3 stages combined total around $73.2 million, and of that, about 65.2 would be eligible for federal and state funding. So, and again, just so that I'm making this abundantly clear, just because something is depicted on this plan does not obligate the sponsor or TxDOT or the FAA to then move through these plans. There has to be justification in order for federal or state funding to be secured in order to complete these. But what it does do is it allows for that potential, and it protects the airport and the airspace in the event that this demand presents itself. So the next steps for us at this point is, again, to ask for your all's approval at the local level, and then we will be submitting the airport layout plan set to TxDOT and the FAA, and it will then move through the FAA's lines of business and go through their approval process. And at that point, we will be in the final documentation phase, and that will essentially wrap up the study. I don't know, does anyone have any questions for me at this point?
Councilman, any questions?
No questions.
No questions?
Okay, well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. All I can say is it was a very thorough report, study. I was glad to see it happen. We're not obligated to do any of this, but we can't do anything without it. It's mandated on us by TxDOT
Yes.
to have a plan.
And the good thing about this is that, like, what is it, like 80, 90% of the funds come from them?
90%.
Excellent.
And that's over the course of 20 years.
Of course.
Everything goes super well.
Let's see if we're still here in 20 years.
Yeah.
All right, Councilman, if there's no, well, let's wait for Mr. Rodriguez. I think he went to the restroom. Any questions, Councilman, on the airport master plan?
No, sir.
Item number 11. If not, I seek a first motion to approve item number 11.
Aye.
First by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Zertuche. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Going back to line item number 7. Discussion and possible action on a resolution of the City of Cotulla, Texas, authorizing the award of professional service provider contract for the 2023 DRP Texas Community Development Grant Fund.
This one is a grant that staff came to the council meeting last month to pursue. This is a $500,000 grant that we're attempting to apply for our historic downtown district. It's an infrastructure grant, which means we could use it for water lines, we could use it for street, we could also use it for sidewalks. And we're pretty much asking if Grant Works can be our grant facilitator for this specific grant, and if the council would approve that.
Excellent. Councilman, any questions on item number 7?
No, sir.
Now I seek a first motion to approve item number 7. First motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Rodriguez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 8, discussion and possible action on a resolution of the City Council of City of Cotulla, Texas, accepting the draft city charter from the City of Cotulla Charter Commission, declaring a public purpose, incorporating recitals, and setting an effective date.
Mayor, this is an item I would ask Mr. Page to come back to the lectern.
Mr. Page, if you would.
Mr. Page is the chairman.
The chairman.
Of the City of Cotulla Charter Commission, who's done a lot of work in putting together a draft proposal for submission to the voters if the council elects it. We actually met last Thursday, the 2nd of February, and put together the document which I gave you that's already been signed. that's attached to the resolution. And if it's approved tonight, we'll put it up on the website. I will turn it over to Mr. Page.
Mr. Page?
Thank you. Yes, the commission met numerous times and solicited all the input we could get and listened to everything. We spent a lot of time going over the proposal, the proposed draft, line by line, covered everything. Made a few changes and incorporated them into what you see right now. We think it's an equitable, good charter for the city in line with most of the other communities around us of similar size. And I think you'll like it. So that's why we offered it. The vote was unanimous, by the way. Everybody liked what was in it.
So under the law, once the Charter Commission has finished their job, they present the charter to the City Council. The City Council says yes or no. It doesn't say change this, change that, we'll accept it. It's either a yes or no decision. If the council accepts it tonight, it must order an election at the next regular election, uniform election date,
Correct.
which is May the 6th, which is why we needed to do this before the 17th of February, which is the last date to order the election. I have read this charter so many times, I might have memorized it. I want to thank Mr. Page and all of the members of the Charter Commission who helped me read it and helped me proof it, and it has to be absolutely perfect. I'm not saying it is, but we think it is, and that it has a good basis for the city to be able to move into really the next evolution of our municipal government. So under a home rule municipality type government, the city is allowed to choose whatever form of government that the state law provides. So this will create basically the same thing we already have, except that you'll have a charter. It will allow you to have additional rights. There's an initiative and referendum that's in there where citizens can actually propose legislation if the council won't do it. It can actually try to repeal laws if they, certain types of laws, not all laws, if they don't like it. And it does allow the city the ability to do annexations a little bit differently, particularly of industrial districts, which is still allowed, even though the legislature has really reined in the ability of cities to annex without consent. So, again, I actually went to the first meeting and the last meeting, and I let the commission do what they were going to do. They called me, they had questions, we got the answers to them. I know Mr. Wright was there, I know Bianca attended, I know Larry was at a few meetings, and probably some of you all. And it's a big deal. Pearsall has one, Hondo has one. I don't know about the mine, but your larger cities around, that's how they operate. And it doesn't really change that much. You know, the one thing about a charter is once you pass it, if you want to change it, you got to have another election. So it's not like you do now where if you don't like an ordinance, you just repeal it and move on. But the best way to describe a charter is kind of like a constitution. It's your city's constitution. So all of your laws have to comply with what the charter says. So you couldn't, for example, pass an ordinance and say, well, the mayor's going to have a 3-year term. No, you can't do that because the charter says 2 years.
Set.
So anyway, I don't have anything else to say. I'm ready to answer questions if anybody has.
Councilman, any questions on the charter?
No, sir.
No, sir.
I believe this is long overdue. We've been talking about a charter since 2013 and 14, and it's finally here. And Mr. Page, I want to say thank you to you and all the committee, all the time and efforts you guys put into this. I'm sure that you guys selected for the city the very best and the very least also, so we can just have enough to function correctly and move into the future the right way. So I want to thank you for that. Councilman, if there's no further questions, I seek a first motion to approve item number 8. First motion by Mr. Rodriguez, second by Mr. Lopez. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Page. Moving on to item number 9, discussion and possible action on a resolution of the City of Cotulla, Texas, calling an election to be held on Saturday, May 6, 2023, for the purpose of electing one council member for Place 3, one council member for Place 4, one council member for Place 5 by the qualified voters of the City of Cotulla. At the election, the qualified voters of the City of Cotulla will be presented with a ballot proposition on the adoption of a home rule charter in substantially the following form: for or against adopting for the charter. It'll be for or against.
I just want to add one thing here. So what you're going to actually do when you have your election, you will have the candidates for places 3, 4, and 5, and then you'll have the ballot proposition all on the same ballot. And so if the charter is approved, then those odd numbered year 3, 4, and 5 places 3, 4, and 5 will serve from 2023 to 2025. The mayor who's elected next year will be the first mayor elected under the charter. That will be an even number. So nothing's going to change. You're still going to have 1, 2, and the mayor 3, 4, and 5. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have most citizens probably won't even recognize that you've really changed anything if they approve the charter. And it is a plurality vote, so if there's more votes for than against, then it's adopted.
Not just that, 2 years do go by fast as well. So.
Right. So we, through Mr. Mendoza, who's done a really good job of bringing us into the 21st century. The stuff's all on the website. The minutes are there, the YouTube videos. Anything anybody wants to watch, we'll upload this document tomorrow, and or whenever he can do it. And so there's a lot of information out there, and hopefully the citizens will vote their whatever way they want, but that they show up and vote, and let the city council know if that's what they want to do or they don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. So. That's all I have.
The charter, what it does, it extends the ETJ for the city of Cotulla, right?
That's actually not correct.
No.
The ETJ is determined by your population. So the city has a mile. What it does is it changes some of the ways that you can annex. But your
it doesn't extend 1 mile? I mean...
we already have a mile.
Right, right. But extended 2 miles.
No, it does not. And I think that's just a misconception. But it does give you.
But our way of annexation, annexing properties comes to play. Okay.
You're able to tax the entities, like for example, Targa that's outside of the.
Well, they're further than a mile, but. There is a provision in Chapter 43, the local government code, that still allows you to annex industrial districts.
Excellent.
So you'd have to find a way to get to them. I don't know how far out of the city they are, but I know we've had discussions in the past, and they basically didn't want to enter into any type of agreements with the city, and now if this gets approved, then the city has more leverage. To try to enter into these payment in lieu of taxes agreements, which is something that Mr. Dovalina had wanted, and it's done everywhere. It's not something that Cotulla is the only one trying to do it. Pearsall does.
Pearsall does it.
I believe the STEC power plant out there, that they have a pilot program with them. I don't know how much they get. It's public information. You could easily find out. But I'm sure it's substantial because they've got millions of dollars worth of equipment out there.
Yep.
And so, as Cotulla continues to grow, we have not annexed the Joel Rodriguez loop around the city yet. That needs to happen, and it will happen eventually. And then you can start. The airport's already annexed. New subdivisions that come up in there, as long as they're contiguous, you can get them into the city, and the city will grow in an organized manner. But it's growing this way too. We annexed across the river, which was a big deal. You've got the Loves down there now. I believe there's a big truck repair thing that's going to go on down there too. So sales tax and ad valorem taxes.
Yep. Councilman, if there's no further questions on item number 9, I seek first motion to approve item number 9. First motion by
I
Mr.
just was gonna
Sertuche.
say one thing. Georgia has the order. I know I submitted it, the order for the election. You said you had the more current one, so okay. So you all will all sign.
Yeah, we'll sign. First motion was made by Mr. Sertuche, second by Mr. Lopez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 10, discussion and possible action on a resolution of the City of Cotulla appointing members to the Board of Cotulla Main Street, declaring a public purpose, providing a repeller, incorporating recitals, providing for severability, and setting an effective date.
With this in your packet, you'll find I went ahead and included the Main Street Advisory bylaws that were approved last month with the changes that were made, along with the Board of Directors job description, just for y'all to reference. And then as far as the advisory board, we did have letters were sent out to the existing members that were already on the board. 3 actually wanted to stay on, which was Jeronima Garza, Bill Bunton, and Dorothy Kinsel. And then we did have applications submitted, and the names that were nominated, or applications that were submitted and to be approved, are Jennifer Patterson, Josefa Garza, Pepa Garza, Genevieve Esparza, Maricela Ayala, and Thomas Gonzalez. So those are the nominees that I'm asking to be approved to be served on the advisory board.
And how long do they serve?
For 2 years.
2 years.
And it's actually 7 voting members and 1 alternate, so that's why I have 8. A total of 8.
Councilman, any further questions on item number 10 on Main Street?
I take approval.
First motion is made by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Ayala. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Ms. Carina, thank you. Moving on to item number 12, discussion and possible action on selecting an engineer, architectural surveying service provider to complete project implementation for the City of Cotulla 2023 DRP Texas Community Development Grant Funding administered by the Texas Department of Agriculture.
This agenda item is associated to the $500,000 grant that the city is trying to pursue. We had to issue an RFP for engineering services. If we're awarded the grant, we had to issue an RFP. Staff recommendation would be Top Site Civil. So they issued an RFP to us, and everything was how it was supposed to be.
Were they the only ones?
There was one other company out of San Antonio, LGA, I believe was their name. And we went through a scoring process to determine the engineers. And part of the scoring process, they had to provide us with prior projects that they had did. and they actually received lower scores in that section because they didn't have a good description of project. So, but we actually had met with them in the past, and they seem like good people also, and they were very nice, and they seemed what they were doing. But as far as the score, they didn't reach the level the top site did.
Councilman, any questions for Mr. Wright on item number 12?
No.
I seek a first motion to approve item number 12.
Aye.
First motion is made by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Rodriguez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 13, discussion and possible action on a request submitted by Cotulla Chamber of Commerce asking for permission to use the Alexander Convention Center with the fee waived on March 31st, 2023 to host their annual scholarship night gala.
Good evening, council members, Mayor Garcia, Mr. Wright. My name is Leslie Gonzalez. I am the Cotulla Chamber of Commerce chairwoman. The chamber has held scholarships fundraisers for years to help Cotulla High School graduates attend higher education. The past few years, we've held a casino night, and it has done well. Last year, we were able to issue 7 scholarships totaling $4,500. We have had better years. It was just election season that last year, so it was a little rough, but we're hoping to have a better show this year. We rely on sponsorships and donors to cover the cost and prizes for the event. So all the money raised will go straight to the students. We are respectively requesting the fee be waived or reduced for our nonprofit organization, and we hope to generate interest to all the visitors and the community. We have some of the flyers that were produced in hopes of your sponsorships. We do have the city there on the bottom left corner. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to waive the fee.
Second.
First motion is made by Mr. Ayala, second by Mr. Satuche. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item number 14, discussion and possible action to approve the participation on the event hosted by the Cotulla Chamber of Commerce titled Cafecito with the Chamber, to be held at City Hall at a date in March picked by the council.
The city was approached by the chamber and also by a councilman here that this is something that they do. Generally, they go around to different businesses within the city, and they have like pretty much like a coffee date where they allow citizens to come in and mingle with staff at these businesses, learn what the staff do and what their job is. You know, for us particularly in the city, it gives the public an opportunity to come in and see who we are.
Plus, also, it gives them the opportunity to see the new City Hall. There's a lot of citizens that haven't gone in to City Hall to see how beautiful it is. On the outside, you know, it's just a facade. It's got that retro look, but still, you go inside, and it's really nice, shiny floors, and really beautiful. So, any questions on that, Councilman?
No, sir.
If not, I seek a first motion to approve item number 14. First motion made by Mr. Rodriguez. I need a second. Second by Mr. Ayala. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 15, discussion and possible action on a request submitted by CAST asking for permission to use the Alexander Convention Center with the fee waived on April 22nd, 2023 to host their 2023 Purse Bingo. Is there anybody? Ms. Whitwell?
Yes.
This is, we've done this before for the organization, so Ms. Whitwell, please go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, City Councilman, Mr. Wright. Most of you know me. My name is Jamie Whitwell. I have with me tonight a few of our team members for the Cast Bingo, Ross Morales and Patsy Lee. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight on behalf of the Children's Alliance of South Texas. I'm a board member, and I'm also on the fundraising committee. I'm co-chair. Before I get started with the bingo, and I won't take more than a few minutes, I put together a little envelope full of some information for you so that you could familiarize yourself with who CAST is and what our mission is. And inside that envelope is some statistics so that you'll know that Cotulla has been, the students, or the children, of LaSalle County have been served. Our fiscal year 22 stats show that LaSalle County, unfortunately, had plenty of services that were provided by CAST. And when I say services, I'm talking about everything from sexual assault nurse exams to forensic interviews, counseling sessions, and even the adult family members, not offending adult family members, are offered counseling as well. CAST's mission is a place where trauma ends and healing begins. And as we look at these statistics, I want to share with you another one. Only 1 in 10 children actually make an outcry. So if we were to take those numbers and multiply them by 9 or even 2, that's way too many. But fortunately, we have the Children's Alliance of South Texas that helps with the healing. I can't say enough about it. I'll be glad to visit with you about more of the things that we're involved in. But we are a 501c3. We take no federal money other than a federal grant that we apply for each year. But we rely on donors, sponsorship, and grants. So I'm here to say that we are planning our purse bingo, which has been a hit in the past, and I am just so humbled by the participation of the citizens of Cotulla, the way they have rallied and supported. And
how many years have you been?
This is just our third.
Mrs.
Rodriguez, Vicki Rodriguez, held the first one here in 18, and then 19, pardon me. And then COVID came along and shut us down for 2 years. And then she moved, and I got on the board, and it was handed to me. And
Yes.
it's been a great learning experience for me, but fortunately I have 6 wonderful team members, like the 2 that I have with me tonight, that are just amazing. And all of them have huge hearts for kids. Last year, you all were very generous in sponsoring. Y'all were our top sponsor. Your name was at the top of the sponsor banner. So the citizens that were involved in that fundraiser, they saw that and they know that y'all stand behind the mission of CAST. So we're here again seeking your sponsorship to either waive the fee or to reduce the cost. Last year, that was money that was able to go back into CAST that was used for children's services. So I'd like for you to consider that as well tonight. Would you like to say anything, Ms. Wallace?
No, just I want to, echo what she said. And we have done other fundraisers, smaller ones, and I think one year we did a painting, like Painting with a Twist, but in a larger amount of people. But the purse bingo has been a real hit, and so we want to continue that with your help. We'd like to host it here, and people are excited about it, because we've been talking about it.
Word got out, and boy, it's really we've been getting
Excellent.
phone calls.
And we do get people from out of town, so
Mhm.
we have an area where we sell tables, like sponsorships, and then we have individual tickets. And people from Pearson and Dilly are coming in just because they've heard about it, or they've been here, or they've heard from, people that we're friends with, and so it brings people in too.
And it's a time of fun, and it's a time of fellowship and good food, but we make sure that it's a time of awareness as well. I have what we call our CAST commercials, where people, CAST staff gets up and talks about what they do and what our statistics are and what people can do to help. So it's not just fun and games and people walk out of there not realizing what they're putting their money towards. There's much awareness built into the whole day.
Councilman, any questions for Ms. Whitwell?
No, sir. I'll go ahead and vote for it.
First motion made by Mr. Ayala, second by Mr. Sertuche. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries.
We're very
Thank you,
grateful.
ladies.
Thank you
very much, and good luck.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 16, discussion and possible action on the request submitted by Border Town Shadow asking for sponsorship for their event.
How are y'all today?
I'm pretty good.
My name's Ira Lansford. Everybody I've known in the past. I just want to give you an updated version of what I think you have in your package already. Since I first started talking to y'all, we've opened a company called South Texas Rodeo Association, LLC. It is not a 501c3. It is a regular private-owned company by myself, my wife, my son. The entire purpose of the company is to promote the rodeo lifestyle. Well, if you look at Cotulla, we should have a pro rodeo here. Seriously, I mean, look around. Eddie Kitzel, four-time world champion. Bill Lyons, world champion, all-around champion. Calf roper. Tanner Green, been rookie of the year. He goes to the American, his sister, Bundy Gorham. She's running for the American. My son is actually working at Rookie of the Year this year. He's a saddle bronc coach. Cotulla was based on cattle and horses and that kind of lifestyle. We don't do a whole lot to promote it, so that's what we're trying to do. We're putting this rodeo in April. It's nothing but a rough stop rodeo. Basically means we're not doing anything but saddle bronc riding, bareback riding, and bull riding. The three most exciting events of the rodeo. We're going to have 90. Well, we'll have 90 top contestants out of the UCRA, the CPRA, and some out of PRCA that'll come down here. We've invited people like Cody Moss, a saddle bronc rider, Court Shear, mine is just going blank right now. Richmond champion, Tim O'Connell, bareback riders, Starting and Crawley and his brother. We invited them to come down here. They're all PRCA guys. We're trying to make this a top-notch rodeo where family fun, it's entertainment for people. We're also doing it on Easter weekend. Well, by doing it then, we're trying to incorporate the Sheriff's Department or City Council. I'm not sure who does the Easter egg hunt. I think it's the Sheriff's Department. Trying to have them do the media Easter egg hunt out there on the fairgrounds that day. We're going to have a cornhole tournament to bring people out there. The matinee performance is going to be on Sunday at 2 o'clock. We're not going to charge anybody for it. They come out there and watch the rodeo. Because that's actually the second performance. The first performance is going to be Saturday night. We're going to have the first 15 riders in each event Saturday night at 8 o'clock. And from that point, we'll go to Sunday afternoon with a second performance. We're going to call it like a slack. There'll be another performance. And then Sunday night, we have what we call the championship round. We're paying $15,000 total, $5,000 per event. Added money to the rodeo. A lot of money for Cotulla. So, in order to pay for this, we're asking for businesses, organizations, things like that, to buy advertisement through us. And we put banners up on the arena fence. We announce your business name. We announce what you've done for putting the rodeo on. We put your name on the posters and the banners and all that. We put up advertising for it. And we just basically sell you an advertising spot. By doing it that way, not being a 501c3, an advertisement is 100% write-off for y'all at the end of the year on your taxes. And we're all business. If you, from what I've found out talking to our CPA and tax guy, if you do it as a donation, you kind of have to wait to see what the government says you can write off. You don't get 100% write-off on donations, I found out. And this way, by doing it as a local business, as a advertisement, that helps y'all out, helps out the other businesses here in town. If you look at the third page of that, it actually breaks it down into the different levels of advertisement. We have adopt the event sponsor. The event sponsor is a $5,000 amount. That's just happens to be the amount that we're giving out in each of the events, so that's why we call it the event sponsor. It doesn't mean if y'all donate $5,000, all 5,000 is going to one event. It's going to be spread out, and the money's going to come out of the purse at the end of the deal. And it goes all the way down to the very bottom one at $100 on the next page, and that is a booth sponsorship or a booth level. You get to bring, for instance, L&M Boutique down here. If they wanted to, they could bring it out, set up a little booth. They could sell items there. So you make money on the taxes on it. So they get to sell items there, bring some community up, get some involved with local businesses that way. We give out tickets for those people that are in sponsorship levels, get tickets to come into this, to the event. Doesn't cost you after you do the sponsorship, but it is going to bring a lot of people to this area. Unlike the rodeo that we did, well, when I was with Farm Bureau, that was a full rodeo. You had calf ropers, you had barrel racers, you had team ropers, you had everybody that shows up. Most of those people have to bring horses, so they own trailers that have living quarters in them. The rough stock, they don't bring anything. Most of them come driving up in a little fuel economy car. So they end up having a motel room, they have to fill up their, with gas, they have to get food, so it's going to bring more business into our local community.
We've sponsored your event before.
That was through Farm Bureau, yes, sir. This is totally separate. I just want to make a deal. I've resigned from Farm Bureau. I was with them for 25 years, and it's time for somebody else to take over. Oh, I'm sorry. But yeah, that was the Farm Bureau rodeo. It is still going to be going on through Farm Bureau. This is just an addition to events that come to Cotulla.
How early do you do your advertising?
We normally start putting up posters and things like that around town about 2 weeks prior to it. We found that if you go any farther out than that, you start noticing the posters, but you don't pay attention to what they are. If it comes up right before the event and you start advertising right then, it sticks in your head and you remember the event, you are more likely to show up and go to it. So.
Okay. Councilman, any questions for Mr. Lanford?
No, sir.
Do we need to designate a dollar amount that you would look to sponsor? Or?
That would be strictly up to y'all. I'm not asking for a certain amount.
I think we used to do 5,000, so we would consider that to help out, your cause. And as long as you show us as one of the top sponsors there.
Oh, definitely.
Councilman, any questions on that?
Mayor, I just had a couple of things to add.
Okay.
The city has a history of sponsoring events. We provide money for the hog cook-off. We do other things. There is a public purpose agency contract that we like to have them sign. Basically, it makes them accountable. The city has the right to expend funds for a public purpose. These are hotel occupancy taxes. And as Mr. Dovalina says, heads in beds. So if we can show that this is promoting tourism, promoting the kinds of things that are going to bring visitors to the city, it's a perfectly appropriate expenditure of the money.
Are you okay with that?
Oh, yeah, that's the same thing when I was with the Farm Bureau.
Yeah. So what it is when a city provides money, actual money, not like, you're waiving a fee or whatever, you have to determine that it's for a public purpose, and you have to control how it's used. You can't just say, here's some money, go do it. So as we have a very large hotel motel account.
Correct.
But we can't just use it for anything that we want to. So people over the years have come to the city. The city's helped the Knights of Columbus. They've helped the car shows. We've done 4th of July things all through the city. But I just need to understand that when we do that, we have if we have an existing agreement, that's fine. But I will prepare that, and I'll get a hold of our.
Yeah, that, you'd have to prepare that because this is the first time we do it under, what is it, border town?
It actually,
saddle?
the company is called South Texas Rodeo Association, LLC. It's, like I said, a brand new one. We just started here in the last month. We got everything approved through the state and got the paperwork on it.
So the reason why you want to do that, we know Mr. Lancer. We know he's going to do what he says he's going to do. But if somebody ever comes and looks and says, "Well, who's this? Well, what was this $5,000 for? $2,500?" And you have to treat each person that comes and asks for money the exact same.
The exact same way, yes.
So that it provides that detail. So.
I mean, if you don't mind, I can add something to it real quick. We are actually working on bringing a band in on like Saturday night after the performance. The money can be used for helping bring that band in. It can be used for advertisement purposes.
It's got to be used mainly for advertisement.
Yeah, we can use it for that. That's not a problem. I can even get copies of receipts and things like that to
Perfect.
help back it up.
Perfect. Councilman, if there's no further questions, I believe Mr. Ayala made a first motion to approve item number 16. Second was made by Mr. Rodriguez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Bradford. Moving on to item number 17, discussion with possible action to approve an interlocal election service agreement between the LaSalle County Elections Administrator to be approved by the LaSalle County Commissioners Court and the City of Cotulla.
Mayor, this is an agreement that I was asked to put together a few months ago. It's in your packet. There have been some meetings between Mr. Dovalina and the new judge. There was originally, the proposal was the city would pay $8,500 in compensation to the county for providing the services. There was a meeting that I believe occurred last month with the new judge where there was an agreement to make the old city hall at 117 North Front Street available to the election administrator as her office. I don't know if they'll still have an office. I don't even know if they have an office in the courthouse. My understanding is that they're going to move
over there for that.
Over there. I don't know how many people it is. I don't know anything. So I amended the agreement to include that provision. Basically, the city says, here it is. Whatever you do is on your dime. You'll pay the utilities. There'll be a lease between the city and the county, requiring the typical things you would have in a lease. So I got an email yesterday saying, well, now they want something else. I don't know that this has gone to the commissioner's court. I think it just went to the election board or to the election administrator, whoever they are.
Can you say what they
now they want to use the convention center for early voting or
election day as a precinct. I think precinct 1, they want to use it here on their election day, which is.
We've done that before, right?
Yeah, and their elections are usually on Tuesdays, so it's not, the convention center usually is not being rented out.
Not being rented out or being decorated.
Because they're in November. Ours are in May. I don't think you need to change the agreement. If you guys want to do that, I don't think that needs to be in the agreement. Basically, what the agreement is they're going to run our elections. You're going to have Georgia doing all the notices and whatever she needs to do on the city side, but they'll provide the equipment, the testing, all that stuff.
All that stuff they need to do in there, yes.
Right. So, I've had a lot of experience with the Bexar County election administrator, and I can tell you they're running all those elections up there. All those little cities up there, they all have a contract with them. And so it's more efficient. It is cheaper. I don't know what the Front Street location would rent out for in its current condition. $1,000 a month, maybe, So I know elections, because you have to switch out things and change things, and there's just all kinds of stuff that goes into that, which Georgia's much more qualified to talk about than I am. But I think anytime you can centralize it. Now, one thing I don't know is that the city and the school district are required to have joint elections, right? What's the school district going to do? Are they in it?
We're not required to have it a joint election, it just has to be in the same spot.
Okay.
So if we have it here at the convention center, then they have to join us here. If we have it at City Hall, they have to join us there. We just can't do it alone unless we're not having an election.
Right. So probably 2 weeks for election, we'll get a letter saying, "Hey, we need an agreement," or whatever.
Or
that's
a week.
That's how it usually works, But I think that the model is efficiency.
Yes.
Don't replicate costs. Have somebody you can hold accountable when things don't go right. Now, the current administrator in Bexar County is been there a while, so she's done a good job. But if things get backed up or things don't work, believe me, they're howling for their heads. So, if you've got an election administrator, use them, take care of it, and get it. That's one less thing you need to be doing.
I seek a first motion to approve item number 17.
I have a question.
Okay.
I know I mentioned it on the prior meeting that the county is going to take over the election for the city, but the city is going to hire the workers. Am I correct? You're saying?
I believe so.
Yes.
I think that's what they're doing.
And Georgia's still going to oversee some
correct.
of the elections.
Yeah,
for the city.
she's basically the person who runs the city. Really, what the county's doing is they're publishing notices,
Correct.
putting things at the courthouse,
Correct.
having the machines.
They will do the tabulation at the end of the elections because it's their machines. They will tabulate. They will train the staff for election day, the clerks for early voting and stuff like that. They will do the training. I still have to come up with all the notices, the applications, help them figure out the ballots, the pronunciations, all that good stuff for the ballots. So basically, I am doing still a lot of it. But if they are taking over, then they have to, by law, do so much stuff.
Correct.
also.
That's correct.
And the legislature's meeting as we speak, and who knows what they'll do. They'll have some other thing that you have to do, and that's really they try to make things better and easier to vote, and what they do is add complexity to it. And so having a central location is just right.
I've already been working with the election administrator over there right now.
Okay.
I don't think we'll have any issues.
Any other questions, Councilman?
No, sir.
If not, I seek a first motion to approve item number 17.
Aye.
First motion by Mr. Rodriguez, second by Mr. Sertuche. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 18, discussion and possible action to approve the Front Street Striping Improvements Project in the amount of $16,377.25.
I have a couple of questions on this, please.
Sure.
I believe I mentioned to y'all at the last meeting in regards of, because I don't see it on the invoice, the thermoplastic paint and the beads.
Yes, sir. The thermoplastic paint was 3 times the price. So we actually got a quote for the glass bead. So it would have been in probably the $40,000 range to do the amount of work that we were doing.
Okay.
And it's
So there is going to be some glass beads.
Yes,
Okay.
this quote that you have is for glass bead.
Okay.
This also includes painting of the curbs and then actually identifying the islands. So, and of course on the opposite side of the street where the railroad tracks are, creating parallel parking. We did add Center Street going up towards Main, and we also added Carrizo Street going up towards Main.
Okay.
Which in the proposal last month, it just was not there.
Okay.
That's for the 16,000, right?
Yes, that's for the 16,000.
Okay. And this will be done like Monday through Fridays only?
Yes, it'll be done during the week.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yes.
David, was the Front Street lining or the measurements realigned?
Yes, actually, The current double line, center line is gonna be grinded off along with all the parking spots and all the paint that's there. And from one side of Front Street to the other, it's gonna differentiate between 5 and 6 feet from where the current line is.
Excellent.
So it's gonna move over and it's gonna give people room to walk around their cars, and which we don't have right now.
Correct.
David, are we gonna have crosswalks?
This project here is gonna have two crosswalks, and they're actually in place right now. They're just so faded that one you can see and one you really can't see at all.
Is that on Front Street and, what is it, Tilden?
Yeah, well, yes, it's Front Street, not Tilden. It's going to be Center and Carrizo Street.
Center and Carrizo.
The other thing also was a question about the
You don't have-
parking for handicap.
You don't have anything for Tilden and Front Street?
No, sir, Tilden. No, it's Carrizo, but then you have Nueces Street that hits Front Street, Carrizo Street, Center Street.
I'm talking real
Yeah.
close to 97?
Yeah, no, Tilden, no.
Okay, or 97, I should say.
Well, they're
97.
actually, they're representing that as 97, and that would be state easement. So we wouldn't have any
Well,
jurisdiction.
crossing 97 would be, but I'm talking crossing, if you got kids walking from school and they cross over from one side of Front Street to the other side of Front Street.
Yeah, not in this project. Now,
Okay.
if we want to jump back to the grant that we're doing, we are actually contemplating a sidewalk project which would connect the sidewalk on Nueces Street, run down Nueces Street to Front Street, and then across the back of the city hall. So that you have a connection, a sidewalk, literally all the way from the middle school, all the way clear down Gulf Street.
Excellent. Councilman, any other questions on item number 18?
No, sir.
If not, I seek a first motion to approve item number 18. First motion made by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Sertuche. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 19, discussion and possible action to approve an agreement between the City of Cotulla and Erica Bustamante Consulting for grants management and guidance for a fee in the amount of $36,000 payable per year in lump sum of $1,500 every first and 15th of the month. I believe we have this in place already. Ms. Bustamante, how long have you been with us already?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Wright. I have been with the city providing consulting services since November of 2015.
She's been here a long, long time, and she's been getting us quite a few grants, and I'm very excited to have her because she's been very good at her job. So, if you guys don't know who she is, she came from Middle Rio Grande Development Council. She served there how long?
7 years in community and economic development and 7 years with the Area Agency on Aging.
So she's very good at what she does. So, carry on, Ms. Bustamante.
If you have any questions as far as my contract or the type of work or the projects that I'm currently working on, I'll answer any questions.
I know you hardly ever see her, but she is at the office either once a week or once every other week. Am I correct?
As needed.
Or as needed.
Well, I have one question. When she comes down and does what she does, which employee gets with her? Will it be Mr. Garcia or will it be David Wright?
It's generally Mr. Dovalina.
Mr. Dovalina is usually the one.
I communicate with Ms. Bustamante and Bianca Maldonado, and Georgia does also. Ms. Bustamante, she's been instrumental in also in the loans that we got through Texas Water Development Board back in 2015. She actually handles a lot of that currently to date. A lot of our CDBG grants that we've gotten in the city, it's been because of Ms. Bustamante and her efforts to get them.
Ms. Bustamante, do you have an amount of how much money in grants you have gotten for the city?
Not off the top of my head. I know that with the Water Development Board.
The reason I'm asking is because I know it's in the millions, but we have new council members that probably don't have a chance because of their jobs, don't have a chance to go and see you once in a while. You know, I do. I have that privilege. But knowing how much money and grants you've collected or gotten the city, or been successful at getting grants for the city, they would know how critical you are to our city.
Sure. Just with the 3 water development board projects that we currently are still working on, it's about 8.5 million. CDBG was about 300,000. The TDM was about 240,000. That was for the coronavirus. Even though it's an allocation, we still had to apply for it and then follow through and process all of that. We had a small one, a state energy conservation grant for about $22,000. I currently have 2 through the Texas Department of Emergency Management for a hazardous mitigation plan update, and for the generators for 2 wells. Right.
2 wells, that's correct.
And one of them, the plan is for it. They have already been approved to move forward to be recommended for funding, and the plan is for 75,000, and the generator project is for about 2.4 million. I want to say.
Yeah, you're right on it. It's 2.1.
2.1, roughly.
It's for the generator.
So as you can see, Councilman, Ms. Bustamante has been very instrumental and very helpful to our city. So if there's any questions, Steve, you want to say something?
I talked to her. I've known Ms. Bustamante for a long time, from other cities too, but I'm okay with the agreement. There's just one little thing I need to add to it about, because it's for more than a year. It changes budget cycles, so the city has to have the ability to terminate it if it doesn't fund it. So that's no big deal. But
is that something standard on contracts?
Even if I didn't put it in there,
yeah, we have that.
Would have
we
to
reserve
apply.
that right, yeah.
So one thing that Ms. Bustamante didn't tell you is that the grants actually have an administration fund in there. And so what the city does, when we used to use Middle Rio Grande and whatever, they kept that. She doesn't do that. She just works for whatever her fee is. So that may be $100,000 for some of these. So she gets what she gets, and the rest of it goes to the project. So this is, you've got to have somebody to do this. And it's not something, I mean, it's a specialty. It really is. And the people that have done it typically have been doing it a while, and that's what they do.
And so administration fees usually run between 5 and 10% of the total project cost. So if I was to charge the city or, present a contract for each project, it would have been millions of dollars already.
Yeah.
Councilman, if there's no further discussion,
No questions.
I need a first motion to approve item number 19. First motion by Mr. Ayala, second by Mr. Rodriguez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Mr. Bustamante,
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Moving on to item number 20, discussion and possible action on a hotel occupancy tax compliance review, final report.
Okay, this report, I believe the city does this on a yearly basis. This
Randomly?
report here, yeah, it is randomly. I think we've done it at least once a year. This report here is a representation of 8 hotels within the city limits that we collect hot taxes from, or hotel motel tax from. And you can see on the first page here, you can see the actual audit. You can see that what each hotel actually owes the city in the audit, or what we owe the hotel. And it pretty much tells you what the findings were on the audit. So if you want to take a moment and take a look at that.
What's that, page number 3?
Yes, it's number 3.
I have one question. See that one of the businesses that right in the middle, how long does it take? I guess what I'm trying to say is the amount that they owe. If by given time, if they don't pay, what happens?
Well, what's going to happen? First of all, I believe Mr. Pena is going to send a letter to this specific hotel. If there's no reaction from the hotel, I think I think it's gonna end in a lawsuit or litigation, is what happened.
Usually, I think what we were gonna do to one of the hotels that didn't do that, we were gonna put chains on their doors.
That is your last.
That was our last resort, but they started to pay.
Yeah.
But they were pushing our buttons real good.
We filed one lawsuit in the past and got it resolved. They got to pay their tax.
Correct.
They're not going to win.
Correct.
So, I mean, the city has the ability to do some things. Apparently, this is the old Muni Corp, and I think they changed their name. Just as I was saying about our grant writer, this is another thing. You're not going to want to do this kind of work. For whatever they charge, I think they charge $2,000 a hotel. We've got, but they only do random audits. So they're not auditing everyone, but the reason you want to do it is to keep them honest. Because they know that they're going to get caught by these guys, and it's actually a crime to do this. You can't use your hotel occupancy taxes to run your business. Those are taxes. They have to be paid. They have to be turned over to the comptroller's office and then paid to the city of Cotulla. So I'm not saying that that's a crime. I mean, that just could be an error. But it's serious business, as all taxes are. And the cards are stacked significantly in favor of the taxing entity, because you can make somebody's life pretty miserable if they don't pay their taxes.
And once they know that we audit them, and the auditor comes and tells them, hey, this is how much you need to pay the city, and they usually do comply.
Yeah, and they have a way of contesting it. Sometimes you see things like, for example, the hotel occupancy tax is $7 per day on each room under 30 days. So if you've got a long-term resident or somebody who's in the oil field there and they rent the place for 2 months, they're not paying hot taxes. It's so short-term rentals. But then they do things like they'll rent a block rooms and they have different people going in. And say, no, that's how it works. It's got to be the same guy, So they play all kinds of funny games so that the legitimate operators know that. I think most of these are franchises, even though they may call it Holiday Inn or whatever. They know they got to pay these things. So this is the first time I'm aware of this group. The one I had was well over $100,000 that they hadn't paid, and they did pay it. So we'll work.
Yeah, it was 120 or
and I think the city's done things in the past where they do payment plans or stuff. So it's not guaranteed. I mean, if they fight it, then we do what we do. But they will lose.
Staff is pretty much looking for an approval of this audit from council so that we can proceed with the
charge. First motion was made by Mr. Ayala on item number 20, second by Mr. Sertuche. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 21, discussion and possible action to approve an agreement between the City of Cotulla and Mini Service LLC for local hotel occupancy tax program audit service for the fixed fee of $2,000 for each lodging property audited. We just talked about that, so I seek a first motion to approve item number 21.
Aye.
First motion by Mr. Sertuche, second by Mr. Rodriguez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 22, discussion and possible action to approve revisions made by the facade improvements grant program application packet. I couldn't see that.
Okay,
David?
Miss Karina.
Well, Miss Karina?
is going to speak on this one. She's been working on this. And I'll let her go ahead and give all the details.
Okay, so in your packet, you can find the facade improvement grant program that, like the mayor said, basically what this grant program does is it's not a reimbursement where they're going to have to put the money up front and put in the work and then we give the money. It's something that we would give the money up front and they put in the work and show us proof that they actually put the work in. Does that make sense? And it's actually something that, so basically the summary of the program description for the people, the viewers, and for yourselves. The purpose of the Facade Improvement Grant Program is to provide grant monies to existing businesses and or tenant business owners to encourage renovation and rehabilitation of the exterior buildings in the city of Cotulla and its Main Street district. Funding for the program is provided by the city of Cotulla, and the program aims to improve the aesthetics within the city of Cotulla as attractive building facades positively impact the marketability and perception of the city. So the funds, we're hoping that the funds, if y'all with y'all's approval, they would be up to $15,000. We think that that's a sufficient amount to help the people to do fixings for signs, sidewalk repairs, awnings, lighting, paint, removal, replacement of inappropriate kind of brick that's falling apart or their awning that's falling apart. They're able to repair it. Recessing, reconfiguring entrances, removal of extraneous elements, door window replacement or repair, exterior cleaning, and exterior historical architectural elements. So basically still we would ask that they still follow, or we encourage them to follow the historic guidelines, but actually just fixing up what's already there, not necessarily removing anything, but fixing what's there. And we think that this is something that will really help and benefit them through our hotel motel funds. So kind of the process of how we feel that it would be beneficial is so that everybody, not all the applications are coming to y'all. We would go through, people would actually have to fill out the grant application. It would be reviewed by our city administrators. We send it over to our advisory board, because in our advisory board we actually have a design committee that's a part of the 4 pillars of Main Street. They would review, and then if they felt like it was appropriate to bring it to council, we would bring it to y'all for y'all's ultimate say. Y'all would have the last say, and because of course it would come through Hotel Motel, y'all would be the voting, but it would kind of go through those channels so that not all the applications are coming and it's kind of like, well, you don't qualify. So it would go through the process and the channels to get to y'all, and y'all would have the final approval of those monies being spent and who they go to and how they're being used.
Excuse me, the committee is the one that's on the next item, am I correct?
No, we already approved the advisory board members. In the advisory board, there's 4 different committees that go into that. So then they would actually, the committee chairman would actually recruit members to be a part of their boards.
Okay.
So.
Did you let council know how much the grant would be worth to the businesses in the community?
Oh, I
On Front Street?
15,000?
Yeah, I didn't. Okay.
Up to 15,000. And it's not necessarily that they would, with the applications, you could say, I think that this application is worth $5,000, $6,000. It doesn't have to be the entire 15,000 that is given, but it's up to 15,000 of the amount that they can be eligible for.
And this is only for historical.
Correct.
Correct.
In the Main Street district.
Okay, Main Street.
Councilman, any questions?
For example, fixing, we have the Stockman's building that is being fixed up and looks presentable and the aesthetics are there, but the buildings around could use some help, so that money would be used to, and actually.
So we have a district that's outlined, so anything within that district. And it's pretty much what, Front Street, Center Street?
So it goes from Front Street, Main Street, it includes the museum, the library, the church in front. I can't remember exactly the name of that church.
Presbyterian.
No, Presbyterian. There you go. And then the courthouse, Farm Bureau, the WIC building, Methodist Church, JP1, and then the large building in front, and then it goes Lina Morena, Napa, all around, kind of Front Street, Main Street, and it kind of makes a square. But there is a difference between a historic district and a Main Street district.
Excellent. Councilman, any questions for Ms. Karina?
No, sir.
If not, I seek a first motion to approve item number 22. First motion made by Mr. Rodriguez, second by Mr. Lopez. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Item number 23, discussion and possible action to approve a mutual assistance agreement between cities of Cotulla, Dilley, and Pearsall to provide assistance in the event of an emergency and or situations in which either city may require assistance with the repair, startup, shutdown, and/or maintenance of either municipal gas distribution system.
This agreement was brought to us last week or 2 weeks ago. This is something that we do on a yearly basis, and I believe
We're just renewing it, right?
We're renewing it.
It's already, something we have in place. Steve?
It's only natural gas, right?
Yeah, it's only concerning natural gas. That's
Are we required to have that agreement?
We are.
Okay.
Railroad Commission requires it.
There you go.
There you go. I knew you wanted to say something, so I said.
No, I've never seen it, but I think you have to have it.
Yeah.
And I think we've actually.
We do it every year.
We had an issue one time, right, with that?
Not that I recall.
I don't think we have.
I mean, we do offer.
Well, I think we may have gone.
Yeah.
I think Dilly had something a few years ago.
The water well went down.
It was a water issue with them.
Yeah, it was a water issue that we assisted with, but that was really just like we were helping.
I don't recall. There was something that happened. It seems like I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want problems with natural gas.
No, you don't.
So it gives us some backup and redundancy too in our community if something happens and they have somebody available who can take care of it and we don't. So, and it would be the same principle.
Vice versa.
Yeah, vice versa.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
I know there's little small towns between Cotulla, Dilley, and Pearsall. They're not affected by this.
No, sir. I don't believe
because they don't have a gas. Am I
they don't
correct?
have a gas
Okay.
system.
It's whoever's running the utility, and the way that these agreements work is whoever would have been responsible for it, even if you have this agreement. So say you have something that happens in Dilley, Cotulla responds, but there's a significant problem. That entity is responsible legally. I know there were some issues recently. I got a letter the other day about some guy that got pulled over by I think it was a smuggler. I guess he got injured or something, and he was sending notices to every city's police department. Well, we don't have one, so that doesn't mean you're not going to get somebody trying to do it, but the law is pretty clear about who ultimately is responsible for that utility.
Yeah, I don't think that most of those little towns like Gardendale, Derby, and
they're not connected.
I don't think they're connected to our system anyways.
Yeah. But the line runs through there.
It does run through there along the railroad tracks.
Correct.
So, there's no further discussion. I seek a first motion to approve item number 23.
Aye.
First motion by Mr. Sertucci. I need a second. Second by Mr. Rodriguez. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 24, discussion and possible action to approve a proposal submitted by Records Consultants Incorporated RCI for an annual record retention update for the fee not to exceed $5,000.
This here is a company that I was also told is a requirement. They come in and they pretty much handle all of our record retention, all of our files that we have put away in the old fire station. They organize them and they check and see what we need to have and what we don't need to have. So, and like I said earlier today, I was told it was a requirement for us to actually do this.
Are they still using the old fire station for records?
Yes. Yeah, they got a whole bunch of them.
Fix the roof?
I haven't seen it leak. I haven't been in there in a while now, but I haven't seen it leak either for the times that I've been in. I remember years ago it would.
Yeah. There was some interesting stuff in there.
Yes.
I know there's like a Record Retentions Act and things like that. Some of that stuff actually gets shipped off to Texas State Library. And then I know Larry sent all of the old minutes, like the old minute books. They're all in Laredo at TAMU.
TAMU.
So, good. I didn't realize we were still using the fire station because I didn't know what kind of condition it's in.
I really think that's the only place we have, as far as facilities for it.
You got all those warehouses on Front Street, on Highway 97.
They're all occupied.
Those four big ones? Really?
Yes, sir. They sure are.
Didn't know that.
Yep.
Councilman, if there's no further discussion, you have a question?
I was wondering, why couldn't you combine together item 24 and 25 together?
I had the same exact question. So what I gathered, I spoke to Ms. Georgia about this morning, because she's another one that handles this also. And I guess this one here we have to have an item because it has to do with training and it doesn't have to do with the record retention. This is a training of record, for record retention for staff.
The records are basically, like, say, all the list of all the vendors that y'all get that I pay out. I have to keep record of each one of those. So at the end of the year, we box stuff up.
Correct.
We put it in the warehouse.
Correct.
They come and they just put on there, this one has to be, you can't destroy this box for 3 years, and they'll put a date on it. So they'll go through each individual box and let you know. The other one is the fixed assets, is our computers, the laptops, anything like that that we purchased that we're currently using. They go in there and put a sticker on there and say this is when it was purchased or when they saw it, and they make a list of everything, like an inventory list of everything that we have.
That's part of what we use for the audit, right?
Right, so it's two separate.
Yeah, because
And on the fixed asset ones, they do a training for the staff, so they know basically how long you can use those and stuff like that.
So those guys, when they come in from Baum and Associates in Laredo, that's on your audit. Every paper stapler, every broom,
everything,
the whole thing.
So my other question is, like, we haven't gone to item number 25. Does it consist of the minor and major inventory list, or just the computers?
I think it's capital items.
Yeah.
Like the major equipment. Right?
So sundries like paper clips or
No. What I'm trying to say is like
tractors and
yeah,
trucks and stuff like
correct.
that.
Because
I think
know,
this is just within the office.
just in the office. Okay, maybe that's need to probably be specified, because I know that it's only.
So one of the things.
It has on their contract.
So one of the things that and again, there may be other reasons why you do, but I know those auditors need this stuff. So I think they have a different way of going out in trucks, and those are all on your balance sheet. You own this truck
correct.
and that truck and that truck.
Correct.
You may not know how many extension cords you have, or that might have walked out the door, or something, So honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, because I know I used to do that, the minor and major inventory, where I used to work in the past, and that's why I was asking for item number 25. Maybe it needs to be characterized a different way, because I know at the end of the year we used to have audits and that consist of that.
Didn't they provide the agenda item?
Yes, it's in the back. I was looking at.
It's in the back of the trailer sheet.
Right. So they sent it that way, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's in the audit number 6.
Right here.
Yeah. So if the other stuff you're talking about, that's probably another $5,000.
Yeah.
So every time they do one of these things, these are.
I know that the other audit for equipment and stuff, it has been done in the past, and there are barcodes on pieces of equipment. When they come out, I don't know that it's yearly. Yes,
they scan it.
They sure do.
Just a recommendation for future.
No questions on item number 24. I seek a first motion to approve item number 24. First motion made by Mr. Satucci, second by Mr.
Second.
Ayala. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 25. We just talked about that as
Aye.
well. First motion made by Mr. Satucci. I seek a second by Mr. Rodriguez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 26, discussion and possible action to ratify the purchase of a 2022 GMC Canyon in the amount of $34,159.75 to replace the truck for streets and parks that was operating without any working AC or heater.
So this also came to us probably about 3 weeks ago, that in the street department, there was a staff member that was operating a truck that was beyond the standard. It wasn't roadworthy, nor did it have AC or heat. And of course, we were at below freezing temperatures all day long, and there was no way for the staff member
To stay
warm
warm.
up while he was working. So we actually were able to locate a vehicle under the buy board program, which is a government program, and we made a purchase of the vehicle. At that time, we did take a look and we saw an inventory of the street department, and there are 2 more trucks within the street department that may need to be replaced. We also looked further, just in preparation, look further into our government capital loans that we have out. And we currently have 3 loans through government capital for equipment. 2 of those loans mature this month, and the third one matures in 2024. Of those 2 loans that mature, that will leave us somewhere around $300,000 to $500,000 for new equipment in the next fiscal budget. We needed this one. It was an emergency in our opinion, so we made the purchase. The other 2 trucks at budget time, I'd like to revisit it and talk about equipment, or either way, talk about equipment and see what we can do.
Has that vehicle that you were describing, has it been parked, not in use anymore?
It is no longer in use. And the vehicle was Juan Carlos Benavides. It was a truck that he was driving. He is now driving a 2020, I think it's a 2021 truck, fairly new. The Colorado went to the supervisor of the department, and then his truck got moved down to a Stema.
Because I noticed that he was driving yesterday a truck with no tailgate.
And who was that?
Juan Carlos.
Juan Carlos shouldn't have been.
I was just saying because I don't know if that's the truck or not. So you might want to check tomorrow.
I saw him today. He was in the brand new truck.
Yeah, but I saw him today also, but it may not be in him. It may be somebody else. But I saw it with the city in town with no tailgate.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering maybe that's the truck.
No, they like I said, they have 2 other ones that are in poor shape, so it may have been one of those. Juan Carlos, he had an old truck.
Correct.
And he needed it. It was a long time overdue.
Correct.
So.
All these surpluses vehicles that are not meeting standards, will that be an auction in the future for?
So we actually had pieces of equipment from the street department that were supposed to be on this agenda for approval for auction. Actually, we're going to bring it to the next month's agenda because I want these extra trucks, because there are a few of them. I would like to also get them in the packet so it can be approved for an auction.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay. So we put it off for 1 month.
Okay.
Councilman, if there's no further discussion on item number 26, I seek a first motion to approve item number 26. First motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Zertuche. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 27, discussion and possible action to approve invoice for payment number 1 submitted by T Construction LLC for the Cotulla LaSalle County Airport Sewer Main Project in the amount of $191,862.50.
This is the project for the sewer line that goes to the airport, which was approved by council at $1.495 million.
How long have they been working on that now? Since they started?
Yeah, I think it's maybe been about a month that they've been working on it. And they've actually made.
So it's going pretty fast too, huh?
Yeah, I've been out twice on the site where they're working, and they're making good progress, and they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, and it looks good. So,
Councilman, any questions on item number 27?
No questions.
If there's no further questions on item number 27, I seek a first motion to approve item number 27. First motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Ayala. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 28, discussion and possible action on a donation request letter submitted by Southwest Area Regional Transit District, Short Stewart, asking for $10,000 donations to continue providing the utmost, safest, and cost-effective transportation alternative for the residents of Cotulla. I believe we did this last year. This is just a renewal as well.
Correct, this is already budgeted item in our budget.
Yeah, we do this every year, so I seek a first motion to approve item number 28. First motion by Mr. Ayala, Sertuche, second by Mr. Rodriguez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Before we adjourn, I just want to say thank you all for coming in. I know that we had one of our council members not here today, but he had to work, so thank you all for being here very much. We really appreciate what you do for our city. So, item number 29 is to adjourn the meeting. It is now 9:19.